At the beginning of the story, we see our main character waking up in a new world after being reincarnated, and after waking up he sees 2 books lying on the table. Then he goes outside and starts enjoying the view, and that's when he uses his water element, because of which water starts flowing from his hand. And in the next scene we're shown a flashback where the boy, before reincarnating, is in a place that looks like heaven, and a man appears and tells him this is not the afterlife. "Your name is Rio, right?" I feel so relieved because someone has come here after a long time. And then he tells him, "Sorry, but you died in an accident." To which Rio replies, "Yes, I remember. So are you God?" And the man says no. To explain simply, "I'm an angel." And hearing this, Rio thinks I'll call him Fake Michael. And then he asks the angel that I understand I'll be reincarnated, but after starting a new life, what will I have to do? And the angel says you can live however you want. You're not being sent with any mission. Hearing this, Rio says if I can live however I want, then I want my life to be peaceful. To which the angel says, "Alright, the world you'll be reincarnated into is filled with magic. We call this world Phi, and roughly only 20% of humans in Phi can cast spells, and you're most compatible with the water element. And since you want a peaceful life, I'm reincarnating you in the forest of Rondo, where you'll have a house and 2 months of rations." Then Rio enters the house and checks the food in the ice house and sees that the food is frozen. So he says maybe this was preserved using magic. The angel tells him the house is built in such a way that monsters won't immediately attack. You can think of it as having a barrier around the house. We then see the book Rio received tells him about monsters. He reads the book and says, "I've never seen this language before, but I'm still able to read it properly." Then he sees the second book called Flora Companion, which is about magic. And after reading it, Rio goes outside and tries to use his water element again, and he realizes that to use the water element he just needs to imagine it. There's no need to say it aloud. He says, "But still, if I could say it, that would be so cool." In the next scene he's filling a pot using his water magic, but then wonders how to heat the water. And after that he goes outside and tries to create fire by rubbing wood but fails. He gets tired from rubbing the wood and lies down, and then he sees the sun above his head and an idea comes to him. So he tries using a freeze spell to freeze the water in front of him, but it doesn't work. Seeing this he says, "I guess I'll have to do something." Then Rio figures out how to produce ice by separating and connecting different molecules. And we see that he successfully creates ice, which makes him really happy. And then he places the ice under the sun so it acts like a magnifying glass and uses the sunlight to ignite the wood below. And after setting the wood on fire, he heats the water and feels very happy, saying that his first day was very productive. He now wonders if he might also be able to produce warm water from his hand just like he made the ice. Magic really does make life easier. For now, let's sleep. I have a lot to do tomorrow. Saying this, he goes to sleep, and the next morning he wakes up and starts eating. And he says the angel has prepared food for 2 months, which means when my supply runs out I'll have to go hunting myself because the food won't last that long. Now he says I'll have to go outside the barrier to search for food, but if I leave the barrier the monsters will attack me, and I only have a knife which I don't think will be enough, so I guess I need to learn. So let's start practicing my new magic. In the next scene, he first tries to create a water ball which he is able to shoot forward, making him happy because his first attack spell was successful. But then he notices that the attack didn't have much power, and seeing that he says it's okay, I still have many other options. If the water ball doesn't work, I'll use water jet. And saying this, he tries to release a high velocity stream of water, but we see that the stream isn't very strong, which makes Rio a little disappointed. And then he remembers that he once asked the angel how exactly to use magic, and the angel told him that the fundamental of magic is imagination. You have to clearly picture in your mind what you want to do in order to use magic. So Rio trains a lot, and we now see that his water jet is becoming stronger than before. In the next scene we see Rio can also produce warm water from his hand, which makes him happy. Then he tries to create ice in the sky and succeeds, but the process is still very slow. He says this ice magic is much better, but my main goal is to make an amazing ice magic attack which I'll call Ice Lens. And Rio now tries to use Ice Lens by shooting a piece of ice, but it doesn't go far. And seeing that, he says maybe throwing it like water is a bit hard. Using it is difficult and its range is also very limited. I don't think I should use this in battle, but no problem. Practice makes a man perfect, and I'll practice it a lot. In the next scene we see Rio doing a lot of training with all his magic and eventually mastering them. But after a lot of training his mana runs out and he feels like he's going to faint. But even then Rio doesn't give up and continues to train for a long time. And now he uses Ice Lens again, and although he still can't throw the ice very far, he He is now able to create it instantly, which is definitely better than before. In the next scene, he prepares a stick and attaches a knife to it, also covering it with ice so it doesn't break. Then Rio finally leaves the barrier to go hunting and walks a long distance until he finds quartz by the riverside, which makes him happy because now he can rub it with stone to create fire and no longer has to depend on the sun. He then says, "Let me also collect some herbs before heading home." But just as he starts collecting herbs, a lesser boar appears in front of him, which makes Rio panic. And on the other side, the boar also charges at him aggressively. Seeing this, Rio gets scared and remembers how his accident happened, but then quickly jumps out of the way and the boar falls forward. But it soon gets back up and charges at him again. Rio now says that he can do something because this world has magic, and saying that, he uses his ice magic to turn the floor into ice, causing the charging boar to slip and fall, after which Rio creates several ice spikes, and as the boar slides into them, it gets impaled and dies, which means Rio wins and returns home, where he says that if I had so much trouble fighting the weakest monster like a lesser boar, I don't know what will happen later. Then he starts reading the same book again and says that the last 2 pages are special edition content where he reads about dragons and says that dragons are so powerful they can easily destroy entire cities on their own, and if you ever see one, just run. And on the next page, it talks about Akuma, which is not a fallen angel, but whose origin is unknown. And the book says just hope you never meet it because that will be your last day. In the next scene, Rio returns to the forest and suddenly a large hawk attacks him, forcing Rio to use his shield and run away. And he says this hawk is using air slash, a powerful air attack, but its main attack is with its sharp beak. And Rio says he doesn't think he can outrun it, so he has to fight back, and prepares to battle it by launching several ice attacks. But the hawk dodges all of them and gets close. So Rio quickly puts up an ice shield and the hawk crashes into it and falls to the ground. But then it flies back up into the sky, and Rio sees that its eye has been injured by the impact. So the hawk flies away and Rio finally feels relieved, falls to the ground and says, "All I wanted was a peaceful life, but this is turning out to be something else." In the next scene, Rio says he got lost trying to escape the hawk and can't find the direction to his house. While searching, he arrives at a riverbank where he sees a knight, but the knight has no head, and neither does his horse. And in the next scene, we see Rio fighting many monsters in the forest and getting used to using his powers, and even defeats a giant octopus in the water. And now we see that Rio's water jet has become so powerful it can cut through stone, which makes him very happy, and he says he's slowly getting used to magic. And in the next scene, Rio comes back to fight that same knight and says the angel's book didn't mention anything about this monster. So is it even a monster or something far beyond the beginner edition? After that, a battle starts between them where the knight easily overpowers Rio even after breaking through his ice shield. And when Rio loses and falls to the ground, he says, "I don't think I'll ever be able to defeat him, though there's a reason I come here every night. It's because I feel like this monster is actually training me." And then the knight turns his sword into ice and offers it to Rio, who realizes the knight wants him to master this sword. So he takes it and the knight walks away. In the next scene, Rio sees that the hawk has now evolved and attacks him, but by now Rio has mastered his magic so well that he instantly creates a 5-layer ice wall. Yet the hawk's attack is so powerful that it breaks through all of them and starts chasing him, so Rio now uses a 10-layer shield, but even that is easily shattered. Seeing this, Rio uses his ice lens attack, but the hawk dodges it. Then the hawk lets out a loud screech which shatters Rio's shield, surprising him as he wonders how the hawk did that. And then the hawk strikes him with lightning, which Rio narrowly dodges. After that, the hawk attacks him with its claws while Rio fights back using his sword, and just as the hawk charges at him, Rio leaps forward and strikes it with the sword, winning the fight. In the next scene, we see the hawk lying on the ground while Rio approaches and says, "I know we both gave it our best, but still you lost. I know that's hard for you to accept. Meeting you made me stronger, and I thought I'd meet you again, so I kept getting stronger. Thank you for that. You purposely evolved just to take revenge because I injured your eye. But I'm sorry. I win this battle, and since you came here because of me, I'll be the one to end this match." Saying that, he pulls his sword out of the hawk and it dies. In the next scene, Rio is walking back when suddenly a red dragon appears in front of him, which scares him a lot because he remembers that dragons are incredibly powerful and whenever you see one you're supposed to run. But then the dragon starts talking to Rio using telepathy, and Rio is shocked to hear its voice in his head and says, "Can this dragon talk?" To which the dragon replies, "I haven't used telepathy in a long time, but I'm glad to see it still works." And then he tells Rio, "I want to ask you something. Did you recently encounter a hawk that had evolved?" And Rio says, "Yes, I met it. Was it your servant or something? If it was, I'm sorry because I killed it. Hearing this, the dragon becomes impressed and says, "What? That means you must be incredible. And you even have a rare weapon too. Show it to me." So Rio shows him the sword and the dragon says this is the Fairy King's sword. If he gave it to you, that means he trusts you. Hearing this, Rio says, "I have many questions to ask you too." And then the dragon starts answering all his questions, and as they talk, the evening quietly settles in. They were having so much fun talking that they completely lost track of time. And soon it's time for the dragon to leave, so he asks Rio for his name, to which Rio replies, "My name is Loin." And the dragon says, "Alright then, we'll meet again next time," and flies away. While Rio says what just happened was extremely dangerous and I never thought I'd actually end up having a conversation with a dragon. It really feels like anything is possible in this fantasy world. In the next scene we see the angel again, who is now reading Rio's status and says, "I've seen this before. Rio has a hidden trait. But why does he have it? Until now only one girl had a hidden trait whom I sent to another world, and that was over 10,000 years ago. And now after all this time someone else has one too. And this time it's Rio, whose hidden trait is eternal youth, which means Rio will never grow old." And with that, the episode comes to an end.